we're going to look at the stepping motion for wave hands like clouds. Because your substantial and insubstantial is very, very important as you do this movement. So I want you to bring your weight to your right and step left. Imagine water flowing into that left leg. When this right leg is empty, you bring that leg in. Now the water has to flow from the left into the right, and you don't lift this left leg until it's empty. So what happens is sometimes as we get going in the form, we know that this leg is substantial, this right leg is substantial. We step out with that left, we let the water flow into the left, and then we step in with the right, and then we step out with the left, and then we step in with the right, and it becomes this herky-jerky motion where we're not allowing that water to flow smoothly into both sides, and it needs to. The temptation is when we have our feet together, we feel stable and we feel like we can just step out. But that's not what I want you to do. We're going to practice letting that water truly flow back into the right before we step out with the left. So I'm going to step over one more step here. Bring that weight into your right leg. Left leg is empty. Step out with that left. Shift, thinking about keeping that column intact, letting that weight, that water flow into the left. And now bring that right leg in. Now the water has to flow back into the right. And now we can step out with that left. So you can see that this substantial and insubstantial flow really needs to be a more even step, and you need to allow that water to flow into that right before you step out again with the left. So let's practice that one more time. All the weight's in that right leg. This is your substantial leg. The left is insubstantial. You step out. It's now becoming the substantial leg. Right becomes insubstantial. But now the right needs to become substantial. Stepping out. So you can see it will slow you down, especially if you really start to focus on that substantial and insubstantial. So now we get to use our hands for a little bit. You know, when we first learn wave hands like clouds, I teach it in such a way that your arms are separate. Your right hand is drawing a clockwise circle, and your left hand is drawing a counterclockwise circle. I talk about moving from the dantian, rotating on that central column. So if we are rotating on that central column, our shoulders stay level. But now to improve this movement and to really improve the flow and the relaxation, you need to think about this rotation, this moving from the dantian, is actually what's bringing your arms across your body. It's not the arms doing the movement. The movement is all from here. It's all of that rotation. So as you're coming across your body, imagine that you have a ball here. And then you're just switching that ball. You're just kind of rotating that ball on the side and then gently bringing it across your body. And again, it's not the movement of your arms. Your shoulders should actually be very relaxed. If you feel tension in your shoulders, bring your hands a little bit lower and really focus on moving from the dantian, getting that rotation on that central column. So now there's one more thing about moving from the dantian that's going to marry these two concepts together. The idea of the rotation, rotating on your central column, and the idea of your substantial and insubstantial. Really, the dantian moving is what brings this whole thing together. Because as we step out and we rotate from here, we're moving that dantian over our base of support. And then as we rotate this way, we're moving our dantian over this base of support, allowing the left leg to become empty. Then that rotation brings that dantian over that base of support, allowing the right leg to become empty. Now, as we learn, we've got to wait till this right leg becomes substantial and moving. Good. So let's do that again, thinking about that rotation is actually bringing that dantian over your base of support. Remember, you have this ball and your hands are just kind of floating. Remember, the whole idea is wave hands like clouds. Clouds are very light. And the idea is not moving the hands. The idea is rotating and moving from the dantian that allows your whole body to relax. So now let's, in the form, wave hands like clouds is bookended by single whip, correct? You start with a single whip, you move into your wave hands like clouds, and then you have another single whip. So I want you to realize in that second single whip that it really is a continuation of that wave hands like clouds. So as we start that first single whip, we move into our wave hands like clouds, thinking about moving from the dantian, thinking about our substantial and insubstantial. There's your second step. Here's your third step. So now my dantian is over this base of support. As I come to my right side, I form that bird's beak. But this left hand is just continuing in that wave hands like clouds motion. Sometimes it's tempting in your single whip to form that bird's beak and then just bring that hand up, the left hand like that, just bringing it up. But that's not what happens. What happens is your left hand continues that wave hands like clouds motion, and then you come into your single whip. So let's do that again. Forming your bird's beak, this is your first single whip. Wave hands like clouds. Thinking about rotating on that central column. Allowing substantial and insubstantial to really guide that motion. This is your third step. So now watch, as I come over my right, form that bird's beak, and then I come into that single whip. So be careful as you come into that single whip that you allow that rotation to pull you into your movement single whip.